Hello and welcome. In this video, I will show you how to create a basic HTML document structure. This is an illustration of a basic HTML document structure that I am going to replicate inside a text editor and then save it as an index.html file. Web pages are saved with a .html file extension, and the index is basically the home page or the entry page to your website if your website has multiple web pages. Let's begin by creating a folder structure for our sample HTML document. I have already created my folder structure on my desktop, but you can create yours anywhere on your computer. So this is my folder structure here, and the way I created it is by right-clicking on a blank space on my desktop and just clicking on the new option and selecting folder, and then just giving the folder a name. In this case, I've called my folder My Projects. So that's the first step. And once you've done that, then open up the folder and then you create a project folder. This outer folder here will be a container for all your website projects that you want to create. It's always a good idea to keep all your projects in one location. So if I open that up, and then I've created another folder inside this folder, basically the same way, right click and go new folder and then give it a name. I've called it sample-site. It's a good practice when naming your project folders or your folders in general to give them lowercase names. If it contains more than one word, use a hyphen like I've done here. I've done sample-site to give the folder a name. It's always good to use lowercase. It's a better naming convention. So now that we've created a folder for our project, we're going to create 3 subfolders inside this folder. So click on it and create 3 folders. Just right click and go new folder and do that 3 times, and just give each of the folders a name. Call one images, the other call scripts, and the other one you call it style sheets. And this basically helps you organize your file. So if you've got any images you want to use, you put the images inside the images folder. If you've got any scripts like JavaScript, you place that inside the scripts folder. And if you've got any CSS, that goes in the style sheets folder. If you are using a Mac computer, you can create these folders the same way as well. I have added a couple of images to my images folder. I've got these 2 images here, and I've got them set at 256 by 256, which means the width and the height have been set to 256. And I got these images from a website called unsplash.com, which is this site here. So basically you just type in whatever you're interested in, your subject title. Say for example, if you're interested in dogs, you type in dogs there, and you can just get a variety of images relating to your search, and then you just download what you want. So that's what I did. I just went through these images and just downloaded a couple of them. So feel free to type in whatever subject you want. Doesn't have to be dogs, but anything that takes your fancy. So once you've got your images, so make sure you put them in your images folder. The images will probably not be the same size, so you can resize them, and you can use any image editing tool If you're on a Windows computer, you can use Microsoft Paint. So the way I resize my images, I just right clicked and went to open with Paint, which is Microsoft Paint. And while you're in Paint, you just click on the resize button. Make sure it's set to pixels. Okay, you can see this is my current size. And when you want to reset or resize your images, make sure you check on pixels, put in the size you want, the horizontal, the vertical, which is the width and the height, and make sure this option here that says maintain aspect ratio, make sure that is unchecked when you set the horizontal and vertical value. So I've already done this. I'm not going to do this again. I'm just showing you how I did it. Once you've done that, then you can save that back into your images folder and just give it a relevant name. So that's it for this part of the video. Hello and welcome to the part 2 of creating a basic HTML document structure. We are going to be using a text editor, and the text editor I'll be using is called brackets. I recommend you use brackets so it's easier for you to follow along in the example. However, if you haven't got brackets, or if you've got a preferred text editor that you're used to, please feel free to use that. To open the brackets text editor, just locate the icon. If you're on a Mac, go to your applications folder. If you're on Windows, go to all programs and you should see the icon for brackets. Just click to launch the application. If this is the first time you launch the brackets text editor after installation, it provides some sample code for you here just to illustrate how various parts of it work. But what we're going to do, I'm going to open up our project directory inside the text editor. So I'm going to navigate to it. I'm going to click File, Open Folder, and the folder is on my desktop. So I'm going to navigate to my project folder, which is this one here. And this is what I want. I'll just click and that will open it inside the text editor. So on the left pane here, you can see my subfolders and my main project folder. So if I expand this folder here, you can see I've got a couple of images in that folder. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to save that file as an index.html. Any file that's got the .html extension is treated as a web page or a HTML document. So I'm going to go to File and click New, and you can see it's given a new here, and I'm going to click on Save. I'll do Save As, and I'm going to save it into the root. This area here is the root, and I'll call it index.html and click Save. So you can see on the title here, it shows the name of the file I've just created, and you can see where it's got working files. It's got the file currently highlighted, which means any file in this area is the file you're currently working on. So any code I write in here now will now be an HTML code. So when I launch this with a web browser, it will know that it's an HTML document. So the very first thing you do in an HTML document is indicate the doc type. So the way you do that, you do a less than symbol on your keyboard, an exclamation mark, and then you type in the word doc type. You can make it lowercase if you like. It's not case sensitive. And then you do a space, and then in lowercase you type in HTML, and then you do a greater than sign. So that's the very first line of code you write inside an HTML document page. So let's move on to the next line. So the next line here, you can give a couple of spaces if you want. I'm going to now specify the HTML document. So you do that by, again, a less than sign on your keyboard, type in HTML and then a greater than sign. Most tags have an opening and a closing tag. One good thing about brackets is that it automatically also adds the closing tag for you. So all you need to do is just press enter on your keyboard and that will separate them. So any code between the opening and closing HTML tags will now be referred to as an HTML document. So anything between these elements, the opening and closing, is treated as a web page. So next, let's tab down and then we create the head section, which is a head element. Again, you do a less than sign, you type in head and then a greater than sign, and it automatically places a closing element for you. So just press enter to separate, and in between the head element, inside the head element, is where we're going to specify some other nested element. So we're going to place some other elements in between the head element in the next video, but before I wrap up this video, I just want to create the body element. So again, the way you do that, you do a less than sign and then type in body and then a greater than sign. You can see automatically places a closing tag, and inside the body element is where we'll have some other elements. Any elements inside the body element is the content that the visitor to the page will see. Any tags or elements inside the head is just for informational purposes. It doesn't get displayed. The only thing that gets displayed, if you have a title here, the title will show when the page is rendered by the web browser. Just as you have the title here, saying index.html, when the web browser launches this web page, it will have whatever title you've given to the page, it will have it displayed in the web browser window. So that's it for this part of the video. In part 3, we will add more elements to the document structure. Thank you for watching and bye for now. Hello and welcome to the part 3 of creating a basic HTML document structure. Before we carry on from where we left off in part 2, I just want to show you something. If you notice here, we've got some indentation inside the text editor. Indentation is very important. It makes your code more organized and neater, and makes it easier for someone to read your code and also for you to read your code. So looking at the code here from the indentation, you can tell that the head and the body elements are child elements to the HTML element. So any content I add inside the head element will become child elements of the head, and then grandkids of the HTML. Any elements I add inside the body element will become child or children element of the body element, and there will be grandchildren for the HTML element. So you can tell the way the elements are related from the indentation. So indentation is very important. So I'm going to add a couple of elements to the head section. So I come to the head, between the head element, I just do a tab, and you notice as I do a tab, it automatically indents the place where the cursor is flashing. So again, to create a new tag, I do a less than sign, I type in the name of the tag. It's going to be a meta space Charset. Okay, and then the value, this meta charset is an attribute, and the value, I'm going to set this value to UTF-8, and then I close it with a greater than sign. The meta charset basically is used to set the character set for the document so that any text you enter will be recognized by anybody who's viewing this all over the world. So it makes it easier to interpret the characters in the document. When you set attributes, you always have to use the equals to give the value, and the values are enclosed in quotes, as you can see here. So I'm going to add another element. This time it's going to be a title element. So again, left angle bracket or less than sign. I'm going to type in title and then a greater than sign. You notice automatically it does that for us. Not all text editors do that. Some you have to manually do it yourself, but brackets automatically places the other tags for you, so it saves a bit of typing. So in between the tag, I'll type in my title. I'm just going to say my sample web page. I'm going to leave it like that. If you notice the indentation, you can tell that these two elements are child elements of the head element. So I'm just going to remove some spacing. So that's it for the head element. That's all I'm doing for there at the moment. Next, so any content inside the head element is not visible. The only thing that is visible is this title here that will show up on the title of the web browser when the page is viewed. But everything else is just informational purposes or used to reference other related documents. So now let's add some elements inside the body element, and anything between the body element is the actual content that is visible on the web page. So I'm going to add a H1 element. So again, I do a less than sign, type in H1 and then close that, and I'm going to just say hello world. Okay, the H1 is basically used as a heading. So if you want to add some kind of heading to your web page, you use the H1 tags, and there are 6 of them, H1 to H6, H1 being the largest heading and then H6 being the lowest heading. Another thing I want to do is add a paragraph tag. So the way you add paragraphs to a web page is by using the P tag. So again, I do a less than sign, type in P and then a greater than sign, and in between the opening and closing P element, you just type in your whatever text you want. So I'm just going to say today is a new day. So that's all I'm typing in for now. So you can use as many paragraph tags as you want to insert paragraphs anywhere within your document. All right, I want to also add an image to my page here. And the way to add the image, you use the img tag. So you do a less than sign, you type in img. Img stands for image. You do a space. You need to add an attribute, and the attribute I'm going to add is called a source attribute. This is important because I'm using this to reference where the image is coming from. The image is located inside this images folder here. If I expand that, so this is the image I'm targeting, so I need to reference the source. So you use equals to sign and then you use quotes. in between the quotes, you specify the location of the image. So it's located inside my images folder, and the name of the image is called poppy.jpg. All right, you see that's this one here. It's a JPEG file, and I'm going to add another attribute called the alt. This is an alternate text, and basically what this means, I'm going to give it a value first. I'll use the equals to give it a value, and I'll just say you can type in whatever text you want, and just type in Poppy image, and then I'll do a greater than sign to close the image tag. So with the image tags, they don't have a specific closing tag like the other tags. So they have what you call a self-closing. You only have just the opening, you don't have a closing when you're using an image tag. So what this alt attribute will do, if for some reason this image is not able to be displayed, then this text will take its place. The text will just indicate to the visitor of the page that there was an image here. So this will only show up if this image is not displayed correctly or not displayed at all. That's why it's called the alt. It's an alternate text. So that's it for the document. I'm just going to click on the file option and click save all, and that should save the document. One thing I want to point out inside this image here, where I've indicated the source, because it's located inside the same project directory as this index.html file that I'm working on, you only need to specify the name of the folder and then the name of the image, just like I've done here. All right. One good thing about the brackets text editor is that it's got a live preview where you can preview your page. So I'm going to click on this live preview, and that will open up the Google Chrome. It only works with Google at the moment. So if you click on that, it will launch. You can see here it's changing color. So this is what the web page looks like here. This content here, this piece of this code here is what is been rendered here in the web browser. So you can see here where it's got my sample web page. That's this title here. So when anything inside the head content is not displayed, the only thing you can see is the title, which shows up here inside within the web browser. And then you can see here, hello world is this H1 element here, and then the paragraph is this here, and then we have the image, which is this image here. And notice also the document is rendered in the way it has been displayed in the editor. So you can see we had the title first, which is this on this page here. Inside the body element, we've got the H1, which is this, the paragraph, and then the image of the puppy. So that's basically a very basic HTML document structure.